Never miss an episode of the Final Furlong podcast. Subscribe now on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. And now, here's your host, Emmet Kennedy.
Welcome along to the Final Furlong podcast, where we're going to focus on Epsom for Saturday. The centrepiece, of course, is the Derby, where we're going to have the biggest field since the 2003 running won by Chris Kinn for Sir Michael Stout. A big field does mean potential chaos. So here to steer us through and guide us through the chaos are four of the best minds in racing, including a man who had an epic comeback to the Final Furlong podcast last week with a 14-1 winner. Peter Michael is alongside us. We got George Gorman and Andy Newton. Of course, the crowd goes absolutely bananas if the sound effects can work, and they do. Brilliant stuff. And the betting for this year's Derby is headed by Aidan O'Brien's Delacroix, who Ryan Moore is going to be on board. He's 2 from 2 in Derby trials this year, but was beaten in a Group 1 last season, and you could say that there's a line of form that suggests this is a horse that has a little bit to find with ruling court. More on that to come. And normally in the Derby, you've got an outstanding Group 1 juvenile, and the big question is, are they going to be able to improve on that Group 1 2-year-old form as a 3-year-old over a mile 4? We don't have any of that this year. There is no Group 1 winning juvenile, and plenty of horses with big questions to answer. Yet Delacroix, George Gorman, is priced up as though he could do an Anthony Van Dyke. The problem is Anthony Van Dyke was 6-1, 7-1 on the day. You're being asked to take 5-2, 7-2 now, a top price about Delacroix. Does that appeal to you in any way, despite the fact that he's obviously the number one for Aidan O'Brien, who's won 10 derbies, more than anybody else, and he's got Ryan Moore on his back?
Well, exactly. Like it doesn't often pay to look away from Aidan O'Brien, does it? But it's very tight at the top of the market, and there's a hole in each of them from a punting perspective. Like Delacroix himself, like he's a very big, strong horse, which wouldn't suggest going downhill is going to be his thing. But by the looks of the weather, there's going to be plenty of rain about. Softer ground would help also that sort of build come down the hill, for sure. I don't get the whole Dubawi, because he hasn't won a Derby, he can't win a Derby thing. He won the Oaks last year, I believe. You got ruling court. You don't know that we're definitely going to stay. You've got the York form, which is its own whole melting pot of issues. The Lion in Winter did what he did. Was he the best horse in the race? Perhaps. Damasus did the fastest final 3 furlongs of any horse in that race. But Pride of Arras was in traffic for most of those final 3 furlongs. So what's that stat really worth? It's really hard to split these behind at the top of the betting. I'm probably going to look away from them myself, but I'll give Peter and Andy their chance to say what they think about the main contenders.
Yeah, the closer we get to this race, Peter, the more I'm becoming a little bit lukewarm on Delacroix. If it was the start of the season and you told me, have what you want on this fella for the Derby, you were getting anywhere between 20 and 10s, and that makes sense. Now it's very close to race time, and the best price you can get is 7-2, and generally he's shorter across the board. Does that appeal to you?
Yeah, it would, to be honest. I mean, Aidan O'Brien is practically cleaned up, hasn't he, in the trials?
He's won all the Derby trials except for one. That was the Dante, and he's won the French Derby.
Yeah. So, I mean, and you're talking about a man who has won, I don't know off the top of my head how many
10
derbies he's won. And this year he seems to be dominating all the trials, as we just discussed. Yeah, I mean, it's hard to fault the horse on what he's done this season. He showed a very nice turn of foot last time out in Leopardstown, and I think he will stay. I think he'll get the extra 2 furlongs. He looks solid to me. Whether or not he'll win, I don't know, but I can definitely see him going close. Ruling Court is a horse I like as well, but I mean, you're really just guessing if he'll stay the extra 4 furlongs. We just don't know. I mean, I don't think Charlie Appleby knows, so if he doesn't know, we're not going to know. And you have to respect the Beckett horse as well, who has done nothing wrong and was extremely impressive for a horse having only second run of his life in the Dante. And I presume, I really didn't read much into it, but I presume that horse will come on a good bit for that, not only experience-wise, but fitness-wise as well. And I like the way he put the race to bed, and you'd have to think he'll stay as well. So out of the top 3, yeah, you can make cases for the 3 of them, and there's 1 or 2 others as well further down the betting that, we'd give chances to as well. But it's not a Derby I have a firm opinion on, I have to be honest, lads. But out of the 3 of them, if I had to nail my colours to one of them, I'd have to go with O'Brien and Moore and Delacroix.
Yeah,
I'd be afraid of Pride of Arras a bit more than Ruling Court.
I'm on TalkSport 2 tomorrow. I've been talking to some of the leading owners in the game. I've been talking to a few trainers as well. I don't think anybody has a firm grip on this year's Derby. It's a really confusing running, Andy. That makes it fascinating, by the way. I'm really interested to see who's going to come out on top. And if you've got a strong opinion, please let us know in the comments on YouTube if you're listening there. Let us know who your big fancy for the race is, because I think everybody needs a steer. And if you get this right, you deserve to be rewarded with a price. That's the thing, though, Andy. These top three in the betting, at least, they're not exactly great value prices. I could argue that the one that should be shorter is Ruling Court. He's by Justify, who had the Derby winner a year ago. He's out of a High Chaparral mare. They fancied him for the Guineas. They obviously did. I know that the rewriting of that is, that was being used as a prep for the Derby. No, William Buick chose to ride him that day over the European champion Juvenile and dual Group 1 winner Shadow of Light. So let's not downplay how much they fancied him for that race. And you can argue all day long whether or not he was the best horse in it. That being said, he beat Field of Gold, who's come out to go and win the Irish 2000 Guineas, and in behind was Hot as Hell. So on a strict line of that interpretation of that form, how is Delacroix going to beat Ruling Court when he dismisses the horse who beat him in a Group 1 last year?
Yeah, I mean, look, I agree. I think Ruling Court definitely brings the best form into the race, but it's like, we've all said, will it stay? We don't know. We'll have to find out. There's a lot of evidence to sort of cling to with the Justify, US Triple Crown winner and so on, obviously side City of Troy. Draw 7's okay as well. Anthony Van Dyke won from Draw 7. We've had, Lantara go from there as well. So, yeah, I mean, look, as you say, there's going to be sort of cases made for all of them at the top of the betting, and even, the sort of chunk in the middle of the betting as well, like, Danister's, Lambourn, even Stanhope Gardens as well. And, you've got the French horse in there, the Aga Khan one, you're looking for a story. Obviously, the race is named in honour of, the Aga Khan this year. So, that literally falls in the could be anything category, 3 from 3. And, draw 4 is probably just about okay. But, going on to the draw, I mean, if we do want to sort of whittle down the runners a little bit, whether people know or don't know, the Derby first had starting stalls in 1967. Okay, so we've got 58 years worth of runnings here, stats to go on. And there is some crazy things that are being thrown out, i.e. draws that have never produced a winner, which are 2, 11 and 16. All right. So that's the Derby going back to when the stalls started. Draw 2 this year, Stanhope Gardens. Draw 11 this year is Tornado Alert, the other Godolphin horse. And 16 is unfortunately the other Beckett horse, Pride of Arras. So he's had a bit of a shocker at Rocker, Ralph Beckett, if, that draw stat is going to be carried on with no winners at all. I mean, we've had a couple of place horses from draw 2 in the last sort of 10 years. I think White Birch and there was another one I can't remember now that might have actually been a Beckett horse, that Westover came third.
Yeah,
draw 2
under Rob Orme.
Yeah, so and it's annoying because I did quite like Stanhope Gardens, but then when the draw came out, I was like, oh no, because I do think that there's got form tied in with Delacroix, obviously, and lightly raced, looks like the step up in triple suit, and that was just a tad annoying. So yeah, I think Ruling Court's probably going to be the one of those at the top of the market. But look, the draw that has got the best record going back these last 58 run-ins is draw 10. Okay, and who's coming out of draw 10?
Lambourn, baby.
Lambourn, baby. So look, out of the 58 run-ins, draw 10 has won a massive 11. Right, that works out about 19% strike rate, which is fairly hefty considering some of them have literally got 0%. So for whatever reason, and it's bizarre because literally the stall next to it, stall 11, is one of those graveyard 0 blank stalls. So don't know, read into that what you will, but for some reason, draw 10 has thrown up a lot of winners since the stalls first started. We had fairly recently Massar in 2018 and August Rodin in 2023 as well. So that looks the each way play for me. I think Lambourn and look, the last Chester Vase winner to win the Derby was Ruler of the World. I think it was Ruler of the World.
Yeah, you're right.
And what draw did that have?
Was it 10?
It was draw 10 in 2013. Everything was here. Okay. So, I don't know. There's angle there. It might be something, it might be something not. I don't know. I don't know if anyone else has got anything else to say on it. I think, the fact that Ryan has steered away from the line in winter is going to be a big negative for that one. That'll probably drift to double figures. Pride of Arras obviously won the best trial at the Dante. I think 11 horses have won the Dante and then gone on to win the Derby. Only one horse, I think, has ever been beaten in the Dante and come out and won the Derby, which was Workforce, which actually holds the record, the fastest time for the Derby. So, all those horses that ran, placed or in behind in the Dante, like Damius and so on, and Nightwalker, got that stat to overcome as well.
Yeah.
But anyway, just a few things to go on there.
Yeah, there's just so much to consider, George. So when you break it down, and just very briefly on the Aidan O'Brien horses, like if you still like the line in winter, good luck to you. Maybe you're right. And if you've got them at a fancy price, then maybe you're really right. But I think you are clinging on, basically. And if you wanted to be a strict interpreter of the guidelines for Aidan O'Brien, I think Colin Keane is a fabulous jockey. If I can't have Ryan Moore on my horse, I would like Christophe Soumillon, Oisin Murphy, or Colin Keane to be on board in no particular order. So he's a great jockey booking. But Wayne Lorden is number 2. And Aidan O'Brien said last week, Ryan Moore will have first choice, and then it'll be between Wayne and Colin to decide who they want to ride. So on a strict interpretation of the Ballydoyle pecking order, technically you could say Lambourn is the second choice. Now the only thing that would worry me is this horse going to go forward? Is he going to be on the front end of the pace? Because that's not really where he wants to be. He did very, very well at Chester coming from off the pace. So do you expect this horse to be on the front end? And if he is, do you just rip up your docket straight away?
Well, I'll start with the fact I didn't even make your top 6 jockeys for if you had a horse, but we'll gloss over that.
You're fourth, George.
But I don't expect him to be ridden forward. I think he was ridden forward out of the stalls at Chester to try and get a position. And this is something towards sort of my point with this horse. He was hard ridden to get a position, didn't really get one because just as fast as he was. Ryan sort of accepts his place and tries to slot in and just can't because they slow up then. They slow up, the field stacks up, he can't get in. He's stuck out in no man's land for the first half a mile. And the horse is actually over racing a little bit if you look at it. By the time the two in front kick on and make a gap for him to get into, he sort of comes over. That should be there where he gets to settle and go along for a bit. But actually the two horses in front are going and he has to go with them. That's where he hits his flat spot because he's been running with the choke out the whole way. I don't think there's a lot of people... If this horse hadn't been visibly off the bridle down the back, he'd be half the price that he is for this race. Like that's the only thing that's making him the price he is. And for me, it was more just how the race was run. I don't think he's slow by any extension. Like they've sort of slowed it up and then sprinted for home. Nothing behind him got anywhere near getting into it, and he's overtaken two nice horses in front. He's had closing sectionals that were pretty close to the sprints on the card on the same day. I don't think this horse is slow at all. I just think everything went wrong for him in the race. He went further than everyone else. He never got a for him to need one, and he's still gone and picked him up and won. I think he's a very nice horse indeed. Like obviously, only 2 1/4 lengths between him and Delacroix on the Ballysacks, and unlike Delacroix, courtesy of the Chester Vase win, he's a confirmed stare at the trip. But I think there's plenty in this horse's favour. And like I say, it can't hurt that he's got the golden draw as well. I'd expect him to just sort of jump out, slot in where he can, get a lead into the straight, and just try and hit the line running. Like I think that'd be how they'd ride him. He'd be my each way play for the race because I'm not going to play this race to win because I can't pick between the top ones in the betting. So I sort of started with the horses that have form with Delacroix. So the other one was Stanhope Gardens. Like his next second in the Autumn Stakes sort of demands that his price to be short than this. And again, it's just he's not had the ideal prep that That's the only reason he's the price he is. He's by a mile 4 winner in Gayef, and his dam has produced a mile 4 and a mile 2 winner from her first 2 foals. You'd think he ought to stay. Again, it's not an ideal prep, but happy to take those 2 against the field each way. What one of them surely hits the frame, like if not both. Obviously, nice to be a good friend of mine riding Stanhope Gardens as well. The only thing is I've now found out my 2 selections for the race have both the best and worst draw that you can possibly win the race, with 11 winners and 0 winners. But they say that horses have gone close from stall 2 before. The thing that worried me about that stall having 0 winners more than stall 16 is stall 16 isn't always used in the Derby. Stall 2 has been used in every Derby since they've had starting stalls and hasn't had a winner. Like, that's in stat based off of that. But I just think, why not pick, if you think Delacroix, if you think there's any chance at all he won't come down the hill, but he sets the standard on ability, pick the 2 horses that finish closest to him in the race and hope that they're good enough to win. Like I said, there's plenty of upside to Lambourn, and there's plenty of reason to not get upset with that Chester run, as many have. That'd be how I'll be playing this race, is those 2 against the field.
I find it difficult to disagree with you on that. I just would also add in, when it's a big field race, as this one is, anything can happen. Wings of Eagles 40-1. Massar was in a pretty big field, 16s. Anthony Van Dyke 13-2. Shamie Heffernan rode him, so he wasn't even the Ballydoyle first string. Serpentine certainly wasn't, when he somehow made all to win and then ends up becoming the first Derby winner since the 1800s to be gelded. Adayar is 16-1. Like, you don't have a really outstanding racehorse in this that just towers over everything. And that horse was the Line in Winter at the start of the season. That's the one that people assumed was going to get to that position. He has not. And perhaps Delacroix was always the one that Ryan Moore was going to ride. Who knows? We don't know what goes on behind the scenes there. But what you were hearing, at least from the media, not necessarily from Coolmore, it was the media were doing the job of really hyping up this horse, was suggesting that he was going to be the one. Now that you're getting to race day, look, if you want to go back to Line in Winter, I wouldn't knock you. I'm not telling you don't do it. I'd say back anything in this horse, with the possible exception of Rogue Millennium, who maybe we can draw a line through. But even Nightwalker, I was kind of dismissive of him the other day on the podcast, and I got a very eloquent DM from somebody saying, I think you're wrong there. His stride analysis is very interesting, and his cadence would suggest that he's going to improve for going up to a mile 4. It's like, okay, maybe he does. There's plenty of horses in this race. Lambourn is the one that intrigues me most of the Coolmore ones. I think that Ruling Court is the best of them at the top of the betting, and he should be the outright favourite, and I'm sort of struggling to understand why he isn't. I know that there's been rain forecast, but mixed about how much of it has actually arrived. And Turf Track is telling us, at least today at 5 minutes past 4, that the going is good at Epsom, good to soft in places for Saturday is the forecast. So that's going to be fine for the 2,000 guineas winner. See the Stars is one of the greatest horses we've ever seen. He did the double, so it doesn't really count for him. Camelot is not one of the greatest horses we ever saw. He was very talented, and he should have won a Triple Crown. But he won the 2. You've then got Dawn Approach, Kamiko, Saxon Warrior, who I was very bullish about in 2018. They weren't able to do it, but that doesn't mean he can't. And the regard that this horse has been held in for so long, the fact that he's won the guineas, the fact that form has been franked, he's my main pick. But I can't let Lambourn go at a double-figure price. So I'm with George on him. I'm going for Ruling Court as the main pick. Peter Michael, who is your main bet in the Derby?
To be honest, there's nothing that stands out for me. But like you said, I wouldn't actually be surprised if anything won it. Just touching on Lambourn, you guys are saying how they're going to ride him. I think if Wayne finds himself handy, and I think if he can go on with him without bursting himself, I think he will, because he'll stay a mile and 6.
If he goes forward, it's curtains.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I don't think he's going to burst the horse. He might just try and get him out and just let the horse, wherever the horse is, he rides the race from there. But if he finds himself second or third going well, I think he'll let that horse stride on and try and turn it into mile and 6 race if he's riding to win. Because let's be honest, sometimes they want their first strings to win.
The thing is, who's the first string?
Well, it's Delacroix, you'd have to say.
He is, yeah. But if the Line in Winter comes looming up alongside...
Yeah, look,
you know what I mean?
Who knows what to expect? Well, yeah, I know what you mean. And look, the way Aiden's horses have been running first time out, they come on leaps and bounds.
Yeah.
I know Line in Winter was keen as well, so, you just put a line through that. I don't know what to expect from that horse.
Can I also just add, sorry
I can't judge him.
to very rudely cut across you there, incredibly ignorantly and rudely, but not do a question time style as, excuse me, I just would like to make this point. I think a lot of people are going to look at Lambourn and say, he was an all right 2-year-old, but look at what Delacroix did to him in the Ballysacks. He's got no chance. I don't think 10 Furlong suits that horse. And then you saw that in the Chester Vase. He needed every inch of the mile 4. Yeah. A mile 4 at Epsom will suit him. I'm not absolutely certain that a mile 4 will suit Delacroix. Around Epsom, at least.
He should stay at Emmet. And I think he's got that little bit more of toe than Delacroix, than Lambourn. You do need to win the Derby. You do need a decent change of pace to win the Derby. But it mightn't be the worst idea. I mean, I don't think there's going to be a whole pile between them. What was there in Leopardstown? What was it? This
2.5 weeks.
It was closing at Leopardstown as well. You watch that back.
Yeah, but Delacroix was giving them £3 as well. But we don't know. It's their first run of the season. Who knows what level of fitness they're turning up at? You know.
On that point as well, if we're going to say about which one Coolmore want to win, there's an argument the best result for Coolmore is Lambourn winning because he's the only one that's by one of their stallions, isn't he?
There's another argument, George.
Australia.
I think they'd be very happy if Ruling Court won. Back-to-back derbies for Justify. The Super Sire.
I'm confused now.
You're telling me it's a bad result, though? It's not. If Godolphin, if the old enemy, who, by the way, the peace in our time now, they have runners in Dubai, they've got agreements with them. If the old enemy win this race, the first person to shake hands with Charlie Appleby will be Coolmore. Because it's a Coolmore sire, so it's a great result for them. Yeah. By the way, if Aidan O'Brien wins the race, if Coolmore win the race, the first people to shake hands with them, if Delacroix is the one who does it, will be Godolphin. Because, congratulations, Dubawi. Well done. And neither side can lose as long as it's not. And even the Lion in Winter see the stars. That's Darley too. Happy days. Everybody wins.
And obviously the triple crown's on, like Justify, you know. Yeah. So if it goes.
Jesus,
if it's
Triple Crown winner is a stallion and that's a racehorse, that writes its own advert, doesn't it?
Well, exactly, yeah. I mean, I think I looked. It's about 10s for the St Leger. So what's that? About 40-1 before the Derby. If you want to do a double to win the Triple Crown, but there are doubts whether it's going to stay a mile and a half. Whether it gets even further in the Leger, we'll see after this race. But it could be on. Obviously, the last one to do it, Nijinsky, 1970. So
there's a picture of Nijinsky in this room.
Yeah,
it's right up there.
So, Ruling Court winning the Triple Crown would be fantastic for Justify. Not so good for Ruling Court himself, who will spend the rest of his days covering Cave Tara mares.
Oh man, no, it would be different for him because he goes into it as a Guineas winner and a Derby winner, and he'd have the Triple Crown on his CV. So that would be imagine if he was to win the Triple Crown and by loading in the gate for the St Leger, it's the typical thing of devalued as a sire. No interest. He won a Guineas in a Derby. No, not sending my mare to him. Slow boat. And I will slow 2.5 million he cost as a yearling. The old breeze ups.
They'll just put Philip Burns on it for the St Leger. Yeah.
No, they want him to win. They won't do that.
Yeah. I don't know. Sorry, the other way, but or the other ones. But
are we?
That's an open investigation now, so we probably shouldn't say.
No, we can't say anything. We can. What Andy? I tell you what, we can't do. We can't do what our colleagues and friends in Australia did. The boys on that show in Australia. We're not allowed to do that. They can do it if they want. We're not allowed to do that under broadcast rules. We can make that joke. And we can make a sarcastic observation. That's it. That's the extent of it. That's the fun and games of sports media, ladies and gentlemen. Fun and games of it. Okay. Delacroix for you, Peter. How did we end up talking about Philip Burns in the Triple Crown?
That's my fault. Sorry. We've gone way left field.
Ruling Court might win the Triple Crown and he brings it around to Philip Burns.
There's a link somewhere, isn't there? There's Olivier Pellier in the Oaks a few years ago. There's that link, isn't there?
Olivier Pellier, didn't he jump off a horse that was flying down to hit the stalls one time? He actually did. The horse was flying down to hit his stalls and he couldn't control him, so he had to jump off the horse.
So that's where
I was trying to hint at it rather than say it.
Did it drift in the betting as well, that one?
Allegedly.
That's
But he actually
connective
did.
material. That's how we got
somewhere
there.
in the UK, and he lost control of him, but he was on the horse, and the horse was heading straight for the stalls, and he had to jump off the side.
Yeah, it was the Oaks, I think.
Was it the Oaks? I can't remember.
Yeah. That's what I was saying. It's the connective tissue and getting to that jockey.
So you could actually do a controlled dismount in a horse at speed, is what you're saying, if you needed to. Allegedly. Not in an actual race, though. And you'd never do it in a race, though, would you?
No. I'm not sure I'd have done it where Olivier Pellier did it. He was going pretty bloody fast.
It's some crack, though, isn't it? It's only people betting on the sport. It's only we're trying to figure out there's a £3.5 million ad campaign to try and promote the sport better. So, like, X is just filled with, I think this guy. Oh, some game. What a sport. Come racing, folks.
Anyway.
Come racing. Dig us out of this, Peter. Your final selections for the Derby. Dig us out of it quick.
Right, I'll go with Delacroix. I think Delacroix is more solid than any of them there, so I'll go with him.
Okay. Andy Newton, your bet and each way pick for the Derby.
Ruling call, each way, Lambourn has to be from
you and me.
The magic draw. It's the same as you, I think, isn't it? Yeah. Magic draw too. Look, the weather, just quickly on the weather, I'm not a million miles from Epsom, and I know George isn't that far either. It has been bucketing down all morning here. It's stopped now, and I had a little look. And I think
wet as we're recording from the outside.
It's pretty grim, and there might be a bit more on its way. But I think I looked, and I think it's all right tomorrow on Saturday. It might be a little bit sprinkly, but I don't think it's anywhere near as bad as today. So we shall see what happens with the ground. But yeah, I mean, look, the Derby has thrown up a couple of big price place horses over the years. So, a couple of those 100 to 1s and 50 to 1s in there. That Tennessee Stud is probably, of the big prices, the Joseph O'Brien one. I mean, that did win a Group 1, didn't it, last year?
Oh.
So that could be the only Group 1 winner in the race, maybe. I don't know. Is it? At 66 to 1?
Russian disinformation and misinformation on this show.
I feel Ruling Court is as well, Andy.
No. Ruling Court didn't win a Group 1 as a juvenile. You are right, Andy.
Sorry, it's a juvenile. Sorry.
You are right, Andy. Russian disinformation and misinformation for me. Kremlin talking points on this show. How dare I? Misleading the audience. Tennessee Stud did indeed win a Group 1 as a juvenile. And at the start of the season, Joseph O'Brien was very, very bullish about him. And sounding very excited about running him in the Derby. You're getting 66 to 1 about him because he was beaten 6 1/4 lengths by Delacroix, but he badly needed his comeback run.
Of those at the 50 to 1 plus sort of prices, I mean, that, there is plenty to go on there.
And his sire as well is a sire that, as we all know, Aidan can't stop going on about. In fairness, Wootton Bassett is...
What price was King of Steel? When King of Steel got placed, didn't it? And that was 50 to 1 or 100 to 1 or something, wasn't it? 80 to 1 or something like that. And there's been a couple more as well. But anyway, Ruling Court and Lambourn for me, mate.
King of Steel, Henri Matisse, Camille Pizarro, Henri Matisse have won classics this season just for Wootton Bassett. So, I think Tennessee is very, very interesting at a big price. Just as one of those horses that he's eligible to improve, second start of a layoff, eligible to improve for going up and trip. He got within 3/4 of a length of Hot as Hell last season, who then beats Delacroix. It's there for you that this horse can run a massive race. I'm very intrigued by him, and he's going to be in some sort of an elaborate... it's always an elaborate TriCast for me.
Elaborate.
The elaborate TriCast is going to be Ruling Court, Lambourn, Tennessee Stud, probably Delacroix. Probably. I need to think about that a bit more, but definitely those three.
I don't think you'd need to. I think you have to put Delacroix in it.
Yeah, just to be on the safe side. Especially,
it's going to be very hard to keep out of the top three. Very, very hard.
I think Ruling Court is going to be hard to keep out of the top three.
Everyone's ruling out the Dante winner, yeah? Completely.
No, I'm not ruling him out at all. Not sure. How can you? He's done nothing wrong. He had up in the Dante. He put it to bed very quickly and wasn't doing much in front. It's such it's hard to get a grip in this Derby. It's just so hard. Normally, one out of every 2 Derbies I'd have a very firm opinion on, and I'd get it right most of the time. But this one, I just don't have a firm opinion on at all.
We were super bullish about City of Troy last year. I'm not super bullish this year. And as for Pride of Arras, I kind of have a question mark about that race. Like, Wimbledon Hawkeye hasn't made the Derby and clearly didn't run his race that day. Lion and Winter obviously didn't run his race.
Emmet, you'd be harsh. Like, I mean, what more can he do? His second run of his life, his first run as a 3-year-old, and he wins the Dante easily. You can't knock him for. I know.
Very, very impressive. But he has a massive lack of experience. He's only had the 2 starts. I'd hold that against Lion and Winter as well, by the way. He's only had 3 lifetime starts. Look, he could do it. Of course he could. And he's got Ross Ryan on board, one of the best in the business. So, and he's trained by a genius. So you've got a lot going for you. Not for me. George, your final selections?
For me, it's going to be 2 each way picks with Stanhope Gardens and Lambourn. Although I think Delacroix is probably the most likely winner, but at the price, there's just enough of a niggle about him for me that I won't back him straight to win. Like, he'd have to be a bigger price for me. So I'd rather play those 2 each way. Okay.
Ruling Court wins, I think, as long as it doesn't bottom it down too much. He's by a Triple Crown winner. He's by Justify 1 over a mile 4. He's out of High Chaparral Mare. He should improve going up in trip. As long as the ground stays as it is, good to soft is fine. If we're looking at good to firm, that would worry me. It's not going to be that. If we're looking at soft ground, I'd get nervous. But as it stands, as the ground is now, he should be fine. I think Tennessee Stud is fascinating at a massive price of 66-1 in a race that it's wide open. Horses can place at that price. And he has the talent to do it, and it's there. Trained by a genius as well in Joseph O'Brien and Lambourn. Adam Mills put him up on the show weeks ago at a very big price. We're not getting quite as big a price now, but he might drift on the day as the Aidan O'Brien 3rd choice, but actually is possibly the Aidan O'Brien 2nd choice. To the first race we're going to talk about on the day at Epsom. We'll go back in time and we'll talk about the 1 o'clock, the Princess Elizabeth Stakes, sponsored by Oddschecker, Group 3, Fillies and Mares, and Bermuda Longtail for Oisin Murphy and Andrew Boulding is the 11-2 favourite from Sirona. Ryan Moore and Devin Minussier, 11-2 shot. Royal Dress is 6-1, and Skillet, who I think is very interesting for Ross Ryan, and Rafe Beckett is 6-1 shot. George Gorman, take it away. Who's going to win the first race at Epsom on Saturday?
Yeah, I'm hoping the rain keeps coming, because if it doesn't, I don't really have a selection. But as long as it's on the softer side of good, I really like Sparks Fly here. Highest rated of these with 4 listed wins to her name, all on soft, heavy, or very soft. 3 of those came last season, including a 4 1/4 length defeat of Kirat at Nottingham, which is very good form, and a 3-length victory in Saint Cloud. So there's plenty of rain in the forecast for the weekend at the moment. I'm not sure. But even if a guy didn't get desperate, she has handicap wins to her name on good to soft off 87 and 93 back in 2023. She ran to an RPR of 102 in the latter. She was still a work in progress then. She only started reaching her peak career RPRs last season. So it's possible that she could be capable of more on a sounder surface nowadays. It's just a case of she's been mostly campaigned on deeper ground. But I think she's just too big a price here. The other one that, if it ended up a mad price, is Chic Columbine. Was only beaten a neck in this last year. Ran very poorly 27 days later. Wasn't seen again until October when she was poor again. Got a wind up over the winter. 2 more bad runs. First time cheap pieces here. Just more the fact that she's run well in this race before. That I think if she touched 16s, 18s, I might have a little go each way on her. But I say you're having to forgive a lot. It's just the first time cheap pieces and the previous form in the race makes me think she could have a small shout. But Sparks Fly is my main select.
Okay, Peter Michael, for you?
I'm going to go Royal Dress each way. She seems solid. There should be a bit of pace on Sparks Fly and the Rob Havlin horse. What's the name of it there? Spiritual. I think that can go forward as well. My selection was second in this race last year. Obviously handles the track. Was 1 in soft ground if it goes soft. 6-1 I'm seeing here seems, a nice each way price. There's plenty of positives for her, and she should be running on well late on, and she ticks the boxes for me. So I wouldn't be strong on her, but for a selection in the race, I'd be putting her up each way.
And she gets William Buick for the first time and is eligible to improve second start off a layoff. She was buried by See the Fire, but to be fair, that was at York, and it was her first run of the season. So she should.
Yeah, and she goes in soft. She should have won this last year, you could argue. So the track as well. You have to also, you have to take that into consideration. Track form is important at Epsom, as we all know.
Yeah, and Nick Morden used to make a big thing about 5-year-olds against 4-year-olds, that 5-year-olds would have that physical and mental edge over the 4-year-olds, and yet there wouldn't be any weight differential between them. So you're getting that advantage as well, if you believe in that. Where is Nick Morden these days? Our own Nick Morden. Andy Newton, who do you like?
Well, look, 3-year-olds haven't got a great record in this. 4 or 5-year-olds have taken pretty much all of them, 18 in the last 22. So that's a bit of a negative for that Bermuda long tail at the head of the market there, the Andrew Balding horse. The one I've sort of come down on is actually Ryan Moore's horse, that's Serona. Ran well last time out, just, I think got beaten about 3/4 of a length in the end at Goodwood in that listed race. That looks, fairly solid form. That was its first run back for, 6 months or so. And look, the draws played its part here as well. I mean, a massive 17 of the last 22 have come either in 4, 5, 6, 7 or 8. So that little chunk of 5 horses there between 4 and 8. Serona gets in draw 7, so absolutely fine there. Any rain, I know we've talked about it might ease off. We'll see. Heavy ground winner last year. I mean, look, this horse was 5th in Falmouth last year, right? Only beaten 4 1/4 lengths to Porta Fortuna. Based on that form and the improvement from last time out, Ryan's only ridden it once from one on the horse. So yeah, that's the main play. And then just the other thing, just a sort of a little snippet, is that Sheveley Park, for whatever reason, do like this race. They've won it 4 times in the last 22 years.
Sunfall.
And they had 2. They got Sunfall, yeah, and they did have 2 entered. I think they had that Anna Swan entered earlier in the week. They've come down on Sunfall. That one first time out last season, so the layoff, the 245 days, wouldn't be a problem. And just based on the fact that they do like targeting this race at 16-1, that has got to be a little each way play, Sunfall.
And they've switched her to David O'Mara, yet they still use William Haggis, which is intriguing. He's had a couple of winners with them this week, in fact. And we saw what David O'Mara did with Estrange, who had been switched from the Gosdens. She never raced for the Gosdens, and she looks like she could be an ARC contender now. Very, very interesting. I thought that Sunfall was very good on her last start last season. She's interesting. Skillet was I'd nearly be interested in Sunfall to a certain extent if she can go first time up, because she's such a big price. But Skillet is the one. She's related to, sister to a Group 1 winning juvenile. She should be able to do better at 4. She had some pretty decent form last season, and she improved for the application of cheek pieces, which are back on again. So I'm hoping that she'll be ready to go first time out for the Beckett team. And Ross O'Ryan, of course, is on board. 135 is the Diomed Stakes, the Group 3, over 1 mile and 3.5 furlongs. 1.5 furlong. There we go. 9 runners, headed by Docklands, who loves the straight course at Ascot. How's he going to cope with Epsom? George Gorman.
Yeah, look, Docklands is not the obvious starting point. Off last year's Queen Anne second to Charing. Returns to track in good heart. That second Sardinian Warrior was in the same Queen Anne trial he was second in last year. He recorded an RPR of 118 with the first time tongue tie on last time out. That was the same RPR he reached when finishing second in the Queen Anne. So his best comeback run that he's had so far in his life. The only thing you're being asked to take 15-8 about him. Last time he got his head in front was 2 years ago. He is favourably treated here, but the fact you don't know if he's going to handle the track and the fact he hasn't got his head in front for 2 years, it's a skinny enough price for me. Although it's worth noting he's won his second start of the season before and never his first, so you would expect him to come forward.
His best form is all at Ascot, though, isn't it? Like, he never replicates
yes, exactly.
it away.
That as well. It wouldn't suggest that Epsom's 100% going to be his bag. If he was 3 or 4 to 1, I might take a punt. But 15-8 is a bit skinny. The best treated horse in the field is Royal Playwright, who is I think £2 better treated than Docklands even is, receiving £12 or £15 from the entire field. And when you got on your CV a 2 1/4 length third to Field of Gold and a 1.5 length second to Wimbledon Hawkeye, that looks very generous. How she's rated, how she's weighted. The Run the Royal Lodge is the best effort on RPRs. It came on soft ground. However, the reappearance effort behind Glittering Legend, who looks very promising, that was on the all-weather at Newcastle. Should hope that he's not too ground dependent. possibly just a non-stayer in the Dante. But at the price, I'd be willing to take a chance on that. But my main selection, I really like Cairo here. Comes here off the back of a career best in Huxley Stakes at Chester. He was second by 1 3/4 lengths to the 115 rated the Foxes. 2.5, but he's been second over this trip in a Group 2 in Meydan, a Glorious Goodwood Conditions race, and a listed race at the Curragh behind Tarawa in the past year. In his last 14 starts, he's only run to an RPR below 100 once in last year's Queen Anne. If this is the sort of test that suits him, that's going to suit him better, especially in the first time visor tried now, like really suggests today's the day. So I'm going to be Cairo each way, but I probably will have a small bit on Royal Playwright as well.
I'm a big fan of Brave Emperor. He's been a real globe-trotting superstar. I think this is going to be too deep for him, but good luck to the Middleton Park Racing team and to Archie Watson and Luke Morris that have seen do well. Don't see how he beats Geography, though. Geography is eligible to improve on his first run after a gelding operation. The Germans bring him over and they've got Christoph Simeon on board, so I'll side with him at a bit of a price. Peter, for you?
Yeah, it's a tricky race for me, lads. I like Persica, but he has a Group 3 penalty to carry, so that doesn't, that makes it harder for him. But again, has course form, goes on any ground. So if it goes soft or on the soft side of good, shouldn't be a problem. Has Ryan Moore, which is obviously positive, and Richard Hand's horses, as we know, have been running well all season. He's the most solid one in there, even though he can throw in the odd stinker. But the Group 3 penalty, as I said, obviously is not ideal, but I think he'll run a big race, and I could see where George is coming from as well. Royal Playwright, you can make a case for that horse. She gets to 8 for age. He gets to 8 for age, sorry. The last one wasn't bad. I mean, beating 5.5 lengths, 5.25 lengths in the Dante is not too far from, you could argue is very, very decent form in context of this race. From this year, I mean. And then obviously, as George said, he has good form behind Field of Gold and Wimbledon Hawkeye. So he could be a bit overpriced, but if I had to pick one that I think should be running a good race, even though he can be a bit in and out, I'd go with Persica or Ryan Moore up.
Okay, Andy, for you?
Yeah, look, I think Persica will probably end up going off favourite. We'll see, but I mean, look, the form for Docklands is there to be seen. I mean, the run last time at Ascot, there's been frank scenes with that Sardinian Warrior coming out and running all right in France, and the third. That Czech and challenge, fifth in the Lockings was a frank as well. But, as George said, I mean, can you really be backing a horse that hasn't won in 10? In the Britannia in 2023, hasn't run at Epsom before, has a good draw in 2, I'll give it that. But look, at those kind of prices, not for me, really. Royal Dubai is probably worth a mention, only because it was second in the race last year. And if you watch that back, I mean, Royal Scotsman led from the front and sort of led him a merry dance last year, and Royal Dubai sort of scythed through the field and plugged on for second. So that could be an each way play at sort of 10s. But I just think I know it's got to give the penalty away, but Persica, look, Ryan's on it a bit like the one in the other race. I think he's only ridden it once before, and that came in the early Sefton, a couple of runs ago. He's 1 from 1 on it. Course form, as we know, at Epsom is vital. It's the only course winner in the field. I think it will, blast out like it did last year when it won at this meeting. I think that was only a handicap, I know, but course form is going to be key here. And rain, no problem if it comes. So Persica for me with Royal Dubai as the each way sort of value call. And
intriguingly, Ryan Moore was jocked up on Geography during the week. Christoph Simeon rides him, and Ryan Moore switches to Persica. Maybe that's the Moore connection. The Hannon connection, I should say. We shall see. The 3-year-old Dash Handicap, sponsored by Betfred. 5 furlongs, 18 runners. This is going to be, hold on to your, grab your seat stuff. This is going to be absolute chaos. Ruby's Prophet is the favourite at 7-2 from Against the Wind, 9-2 for the Kevin Ryan team. George Scott has got Mademoiselle, and there's Blinky in there as well at 10s. George, who are you with?
Yeah, should be said that the draw bias over 5 furlongs at Epsom seems to be sort of dwindling a bit. I've sort of noticed more and more low horses drawn low, running well or winning. So I've sort of gone for 1 low and 1 high in each of these because they're hard. So start with very obvious one. Ruby's Prophet has gone from strength to strength as a handicapper this year. Made all at Wolverhampton and Goodwood, either side of an honourable second at Chester. even the second was an improvement. She finished a length and a quarter closer to Red Orange off £2 worse terms than when she met him at Yarmouth last season. It should be mentioned, if you fancy Ruby's Profit, a lot of people are going to say Blinky received a £9 weight pull here from their last meeting. But Ruby's Profit won on her next start and ran to an £8 higher RPR than meeting Blinky the time before. So I think she's probably improving past where that's going to make a difference. Like, she's very, very progressive. And that would be my my high drawn one. My low drawn one, Stormy Impact, I think is a really interesting runner. Had an exceptional 2-year-old season when she was beaten less than a length into second on her first 3 starts, for a credible 5th at Group 3 level in the Firth of Clyde at Ayr, and then won a 3-runner novice event at Musselburgh that she was odds on for. She was well beaten into 6th when unfancied on handicap debut on her first run of this year. But the 2nd and 4th have been placed since, and the 3rd, So Darn Hot, has won since. So it's actually, even if she wasn't fully wound up for that, it's turned out to be a pretty decent race. She got dropped £2 for that, and I think could very well progress off a mark of 90, especially given all of her career RPRs so far have been between 84 and 89. Like, she's very consistent. So I go, one low, one high, and take all the extra places. Take all the help you can get in this race, because it's going to be tough.
Yeah, watch out for those extra places. You're going to need them unless you're extremely bullish. Maybe Peter is extremely bullish. Do you have one that you're massively confident about? One that's a Patreon-only selection?
No. I don't have Patreon. But no. This is if I ever would love to ride in a race, I'd love to ride in a race like this, even though I'd shit myself. I'd love to. You just love it.
All right.
That'll get you the confidence of the owners right there. People will be queuing up to get you.
You just, Jesus, unless they're on 10 stone overweight, you're just queuing up. Sorry, you're not queuing up. You're just in a race like this. You're just, it's one. Sometimes though, you can see horses flying from behind and getting up late on, and that's a great sight to see in a race like this, because they weave through and try and get gaps, and if they get it, it's brilliant to see. But obviously, more times than not, you need to be in the first third after the first furlong to have a chance. Am I right in saying it's the fastest 5 furlongs in the world?
That's what they say.
Yeah. So
is it this one or the King George and the King George Stakes at Goodwood?
Sorry.
No, Stone of Folker, I think, broke the record for the fastest 5 furlongs ever run in this race. In the next race, in the Dash.
Right. Okay. But yeah, races at Epsom. They can be good to bet on if you find one that can lightning quick out of the stalls and can keep going. The obvious starting point is Ruby's Profit. George was touching on the draw. Andy, I'm sure, has his stats on it, but normally you'd like to be drawn high. I don't know if it makes any difference, if it's softish ground, if that changes anything. But that's the one I'm going to put up just because it has a good draw and she's a lot of speed. But 7-2, she's very tight priced in the 18-runner sprint. Is it 18? Yeah, 18-runner sprint handicap. But, probably a furlong and a half down. You'd probably be wanting to be on her. Whether or not she can hold on, I don't know, because they'll be flying at her late on. Yeah, look, I'm going to put her up, but I don't think there's much value in the price. But I think she is the most likely winner. But, it would just be selection. It wouldn't be a strong selection at all. I just think she has everything going for her to run a big race, and she should run a big race. Once she pings the lids, what she should do, she should be there with every chance of furlong down.
Yeah, I'm the same, Andy. I don't have a strong selection for this race, but who do you like, my friend?
It's a tricky one, isn't it? Run it 100 times, there'd be loads of different results. But they generally come over the, on these 5 furlong races. So yeah, that's something. And I think, the draw. There's only been 2 price run-ins of this. The Dash has obviously got a bit more history, and the only winners of this race have drawn 13 and 20. So they were relatively high. Both of the winners came. They were carrying sort of 9 stone 2 to 9 stone 7. But again, it's only sort of 2 run-ins to go on. Cape Sovereign is probably one I'd have a little go on, tentative, only because Holly Daw, I think she's much better jockey over the sprint trips, sort of 5 furlongs, 6 furlongs. Kevin Ryan Camp, little bit iffy at the moment, but I did have a winner I think on Monday. or early in the week or something, or 2 in the last week actually. So I think they are turning a bit of a corner, and I think she was jocked up on at least 1 or 2 of the others in this earlier in the week. So she's come down on Cape Sovereign, hasn't won a race. That's the only sort of like, it's 0 from 7, but gets in here with a lightweight 8 stone 2. And then the other one, interestingly, was the one that George put up. And it's drawn a bit lower, that Stormy Impact, and just 100% based on the fact that run last time at Newmarket, yes, over 6 furlongs, was being super duper franked with the third coming out. That's So Darn Hot and winning. And the second running all right as well. Next time out, a horse called American Style. So dropped down in trip, back to 5 furlongs. It's 2 runs over 5 furlongs. Have been a short head second and a win. It's only had 6 career runs. Warren Fentiman is making a bit of a name for himself. Takes 5 off. Can see that going well. It's a big old price, 25 to 1. So yeah, but it's a tricky race, as we've all said.
It's really tricky. So much so, I'm going to be gutless and skip it. I'm going to pick one from these 3 for the play spot, but no, good luck to you. The 245 is the Aston Martin Dash Handicap. It's a heritage handicap. Peter, did you get your Aston Martin yet?
It's on the way.
George, has your Aston Martin arrived?
Oh yeah, it's outside. Yeah.
Great stuff. Andy, did the Jockey Club look after you? Is the Aston Martin outside?
Yeah, got a white one. Yeah, listen, and wait, on that, we were talking about Mobland last week. I'm on it, right? And he should be the next James Bond, talking about Aston Martins. I've
Tom
got
Hardy.
2 episodes to go. Yeah. He's
Do you know the car he drives in Mobland is my dad's 6?
The Audi, the Audi estate.
Yeah. I tell you, it doesn't drive like an estate. It's a serious piece.
Oh no, they're
kit.
a serious piece of kit. Those things are machines. So we're all shills. That's why we only ever say nice things. We never question anything. We never ask
cut
any...
the bit where we were talking about Audi. Cut that bit.
Yeah. It's just, of course, obviously. Vorsprung Dort Technik. It's all about Aston Martin. But isn't Aston Martin owned by a German company now? Anyway, it's all the same. So we're all shills. We all drive Aston Martins. We all do exactly what the establishment tells us. We take our establishment talking points. We never question anything. We never criticize anybody. And that's why... Oh, wait, no. That's why you listen to this show, because we're not shills. And that's probably also why we're not driving Aston Martins. Maybe we should just sell out, boys. Just be total sellouts and shills. Everything's great. Everything's amazing. Don't ask any questions. Just consume product and get excited for more product. Have you got your tickets yet? Fury me. Mobland's amazing. If you haven't watched it, season 2 is already confirmed. I want an old man Bond film where Brosnan is back, and then I want Tom Hardy as Bond. But I'd be much more interested in Mobland season 2, 3, 4. Keep it going. Just keep that show. Give us more of that. And you can slag off Pierce Brosnan's accent all you want. I love it. I'm an Irishman, and I love his accent. It's the first
awesome. Episode, it was bad, wasn't it? But I don't know, I'm probably about 6 in now. And
you betrayed me!
Yeah.
But I think if you've spent any time with Irish people, especially Kerryman, like... You know someone that sounds like that.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It sounds cartoonish, but it's a real thing.
It's when he tells Paul to get it. Paul is trying to tell him about the daughter-in-law taking the car. He's like, get out. Back off, you prick. And then when finally he gets to tell him, why didn't you tell me, you prick? That was mean. It's so good. No spoilers, but it's so incredibly well done. It's a brilliant cast. They're all fantastic. The protagonists are amazing. The antagonist is amazing. I'm not even sure if you can call the guy the antagonist. He's the one who's been provoked. It's so good. Just watch it if you have not watched Mobland. Paramount Plus doesn't have anywhere near the level of subscribers that Netflix and Disney Plus have. It's one of the most streamed shows in the world. Maybe it's one of the most streamed shows in the world because people are accessing it in different ways. But anyway, watch it. Guy Ritchie, phenomenal show. All right. The Dash, who's going to win? George Gorman, who's going to put us in an Aston Martin?
Yeah, it was tough enough having one of these to do every year. Now they've got a 3-year-old version as well. Like, having 2 of them to do over the past couple of days has been difficult. But I've gone for the similar tactic that I adopted in the last one. I've gone for a fancy one drawn high and unfancy one drawn low. We start with Spartan Arrow. Actually, relatively unexposed for a 5-year-old 5 furlong sprinter. Just 12 runs to his name, courtesy of 2 long layoffs either side of a length and 3/4 length, length and 3/4 third to Clarendon House in York last May. He's now managed to string together 5 runs this year, including 2 wins. I don't know if it's anything to do with his injuries, but a pattern has started to form of a good run followed by a bad one. The first of his wins came off a mark of 90 at Wolverhampton. He recorded an RPR of 100. And most importantly, 2 starts back, he managed a course and distance win off 92, where he recorded an RPR of 106, wearing first-time cheek pieces. So he was beaten then next time at York, actually the same race that he ran in between those 2 big breaks. Just based off the pattern that's forming, and it wasn't not present in his younger days. If you look through some of his form, there's a bit of a pattern of a good run, a bad one, a good one, a bad one. But I'm willing to forgive him that, and I think he could continue to progress off his new mark of 99, I think it is, particularly given he's already shown a liking for this track, which I think is a big, big thing in these races. The same horses come back and run well every year, and he's already shown that he likes Epsom. The other one, the one's a bit of a bigger swing. So the Blind Beggar, he's run 55 times, and in 26 of those, he's finished in the first 3. He's won on good, standard, and heavy. So he's just reliable as all hell, this horse. Like he was beaten less than a length off 83 and 84 on soft turf and on the all-weather at Nottingham and Wolverhampton the past year. Crucially, the rider's £5 claim takes him from 80 down to a career low of 75. His career winning marks have all been between 77 and 84. He's run pretty well this season, finishing in the first 4 in 5 of his last 7 races. And back onto the turf. When the turf season started, he had 2 runs. Both of them, they put him back in cheek pieces, having worn blinkers or visors every single run since January 2023. And he comes here and the blinkers are back on. That's massive to me that they suddenly went, right, we better change the headgear back so that this has some effect when he goes for his main target, which is clearly this, off what should be a basement mark for him with a decent £5 claim wrap. I fancy the Blind Beggar each way, along with Spartan Arrow.
I'm liking that an awful lot. I'm almost inclined to just go with our old favourite James Jungle, who did us another each way scumbag favour last week, Peter.
Yeah, I think I love that horse, but I think the handicapper might just, I think he might need to come down a few pounds to win one of these races. But then again, he's so consistent. This could be the type of race that could fall into his lap. But yeah, he deserves to win one of them. But it just appears that what's he off these days? 96, yeah. Well, he's just. I fancied him last time. He had no excuses, and I thought, I put him up each way, and he didn't really lose much on him. But I would have expected him to win it, but I just think, I think the handicapper has him. So if he wins it, I'd be a little bit surprised. But definitely, again, you could see him running well. I'm going to put up the same one of the horses that George mentioned, Spartan Arrow. I was very impressed with his win at Epsom. Now, it was cheek pieces first time. So, and as George said, he's ran after that and it was disappointing. So he needs to, show that just wasn't the effects of the first time cheek pieces. But obviously, it's a massive positive that was the course and distance for him. And he absolutely hacked up that day. I just love the way he put distance between himself and the rest. And you don't normally see that often in 5 furlong handicap. He just went, when Holly travelled well for Holly the whole way. And when Holly asked him, he just kind of put 2 lengths between him and the second horse, in a short space of time, and hit the line well. So obviously it's a positive that, the horse likes that track, likes the downhill and likes the Epsom 5 furlong course. But the question mark is, will he reproduce it again? Because that was first time cheek pieces. And if it gets soft, we don't know if he'll handle the soft. He might get away with good to soft, but soft obviously is a complete unknown. But if it remains good ground, proper good ground, or, just on the soft side of good, fancy there, in the hope that, it was the course that brought that performance out of him rather than the cheek pieces. Because that was a big performance that day.
I thought Gerbat was really interesting. The form with Chagrin and American Affair I absolutely love. Mark of 92 should be fine for him. In fact, he's probably decently treated off that mark. He gets Oisin Murphy again. The last time he was on him, he was only beaten ahead by Cover Up at Doncaster over this trip, but that was on soft ground. Soft ground is fine. Good ground is fine. Whatever you give him. The only question I'd have, Andy, is he going to be okay on an undulating track like Epsom? If he handles the track, 7-1 about Gerbat is fair. He'd be my pick. But who are you with?
Yeah, first run at the track, isn't it, for Jerbat? JM Jungle actually came fourth in the 3-year-old dash a couple of years ago, so that has run here before. They're quite similar profile, those two, aren't they? So, you can easily see them hitting the frame. You've got a few past winners. Obviously, Dream Composer won it last year, but that is up £9, I think. I think last year that Joe Levy, he was claiming 5 as well. So what's that? £14 worse off than 12 months ago. T Spirit actually won the race in 2022 as well, but that's rated about £15 higher. I think they're putting it down a tad. So if you do like the old past winner angle, they're two in there. The Bell Conductor, I think that was 5th in the race last year and is £3 lower, so might be one to sort of cling on to there. But look, the horse that was second last year, Democracy Dilemma, only ran last week in that listed race at Haydock, came 5th. Should have his spot on for this. Back into a handicap. His last runs in a handicap were 4th, 2nd, 1st, 3rd, 1st. So it's not been out of the first 4 in its last 6 runs in a handicap. Last year it blasted out. I think it had draw 8 last year. 6 is a little bit not 100% because it's going to have to come and blast out and then use a bit to come over. But I think it will go out, blast, from the gates. And based on last year, it was only £2 higher. Ground is absolutely fine. Ross O'Brien's on it. And about time Robert Cowell won this. I don't think he's ever won it, the Dash. So, as we all know, he's more famed for his sprinters. But yeah, Democracy Dilemma looks the solid each way one for me.
He's a horse we like an awful lot on this show as well. He's been an old favourite of ours over the years. Okay, best bets for the weekend, boys. If you want to mention anything on the Friday, you're welcome to, although by the time people are watching, listening to this, bear in mind, Friday may very well have come and gone. So, who is your best bet of the weekend, George Gorman?
If I just do a quick run through some of those on Friday, Halassan in the first, obviously beat Camille Pizarro last year at Doncaster, beat Al Qudra in Meydan, 3 starts back. I think that'd be the best horse on form should he run to his best. Havana Hurricane in the Woodcote. Eve Johnson Horton just doesn't tend to have first time out winners, to be honest, and won over 5 at Goodwood by 2 lengths when she herself felt he could be short of race fitness. I expect that horse to take a massive step forward. El Watin's been well talked about in the Oaks, running so well in the Guineas on just her second start. The final one would be in the Mile 2 handicap. There's a horse called Rafgar, who 2 starts ago was beaten half a length off the same mark over course and distance. And for some reason, is 12-1 for this race. I just think it's the wrong price. In terms of my best bet for Saturday, I think I'm going to go with Lambourn in the Derby each way.
Be some crack if the winner of the Oaks and the winner of the Derby both come from the Ballysacks and neither of them are Delacroix. We might take the Long Way, who was really impressive last time out and beat Minnie Hawk as a juvenile. She's 20-1. I think that's an insane price for her. And Lambourn, who was in front of her. Yeah, he was in front of her by a couple of lengths. Could happen. It's not insane. I like it. Peter Michael, best bets of the weekend.
Well, there's actually a good few this weekend. I have to get stuck into studying. I've just seen them on my tracker there. This is new because I've been putting in a good bit of work, so they're starting to, it takes a while for these horses to run. But,
yeah. Share the wealth, Peter. Share the wealth.
Well, my tag is there. If anyone wants to come on Twitter, send me a message. There's loads of room in my group for new customers. I'm looking for new customers. So anyone wants to come in, just send me a private message on Twitter and I'll, give you all the details needed. Look, on Friday, if people see this in time, in Bangor and D in the 410, I think I'll say it. I'm just seeing around 7-4 there. She's definitely going to win more races. Whether or not this race comes too soon for her after her pissing up 7 days ago, I don't know. I'll need to put a bit more work into that to see. She's definitely going to win more races. And, if that race doesn't come, if this race doesn't come too soon for her, it's a 50-50 chance whether she wins or not. So she's more of an even money shot in my book. And then on Saturday, I am going to put up in Doncaster. What time is he running? There's no prices for this yet, so I shouldn't really be giving it away. The people in my group mightn't be happy about it. But anyway, Where is he going? Sorry, lads, 1 second. 7:15 at Doncaster. Hopefully we'll get a bit of a price in this one. Cajun Thunder.
Oh, good man.
I like this horse. I was hoping it was 6 furlongs, but I like this horse.
Well, you've had that on before, haven't you? I think. We
He got this close to a 20 to 1 bet, and he should have won.
Yeah,
he was 40 to 1. He was 40 to 1 that day.
No, that's good.
Yeah, but it was soft ground. I think I wish it was 6 furlongs. He's got no problems over 7 furlongs. Don't get me wrong, but I'm very interested in this horse over 6 furlongs. Was it the Woking with 6 furlongs in Ascot? I'd love to see him in that.
Yeah.
If he's running the right side, him and Cody Lyon would be 2 horses I'd be looking for at that. But yeah, look, I'm hoping you might get a nice price on him after his last run, but just put a line through that. The ground was just too fast that day for most of the horses.
If we're going to mention Friday, and again, I'm conscious of the fact that Friday may very well have come and gone for a lot of you who are watching or listening to this, so hopefully this is somewhat useful to you. I think just before we'll win the handicap, she's off a mark of 77. She should have got an awful lot closer the last day, over 6 furlongs. She's the daughter of Justify. She won a maiden for Shamie Heffernan and Willie Brown last year, and she just looks like she's coming right. 7 furlongs will suit her, and Fairy House should be fine for her as well. Over 7 furlongs in a 3-year-old handicap. She should be a pretty decent price, and she has to be better than that mark, and she shaped very, very well the last day, so I think she'll go close. And we'll be covering the race live on TalkSport too. I'm pretty certain Jan Bruegel will have the race won off the final turn in the Coronation Cup and beat Calandigan, who I think the show pony will just be doing a little bit too much show ponying. The Golden Pony likes to really do the show pony stuff, Miguel Barcelona, and that's what's going to cost him. So I think Jan Bruegel will be away and gone by the time the Golden Pony finally gets going. So Jan Bruegel for me. Andy Newton?
I'll leave the Friday stuff because, like you say, it might be a little bit outdated by the time people watch it. Best bet Nap is going to be Persica, Ryan Moore 1 from 1, course winner, won at this meeting last year. The each way sort of next best. I'm with you guys with Lambourn, based on the draw stat gets the golden number 10. If you want to see loads more about the draw and literally the percentage on all the draws, go over to Sportscasting. So I've got an article on there that gives the winners on all of the I think it's only 19 runners this year, well only 19, but yeah, on the winning strike rates for all of them on there. And then look, just quickly, the other 2 races that are not on ITV on Saturday at Epsom, the 4:15 Asgard's captain for our mate old Dylan Cunner looks interesting. Oisin Murphy's been booked, gets a good draw, course's distance winner in April, only up £7. And then in the 5 o'clock Chartwell Jack, only because Balding's got a good record in this race. He's won 3 of the last 7. Again, Murphy's on this one. He's got a super strong to the track, 34%. Cheap pieces on first time. So those 2 in the other later races after the Derby.
Anna Swan has her second start for William Haggis, having been with Sir Michael Stout last year. These ex-Stout horses are all improving for new trainers. She had the option of going. Yeah, she had the option of going to Epsom. They go to Goodwood instead. She'll win.
That 4:15 race you mentioned, Andy. Keep it for the viewers. Keep an eye on Miller Spirit. I think has been primed for this race. Could be. Is that one of Gary's? It's one of. It's one of. What's his name? Moore. Gary Moore. Yeah.
Come on in, George.
George, go on. Tell us there.
He's a very nice horse. I don't know what mark he's on compared to his last winning mark.
Has he been geared up for this race, George? Come on, tell us.
I'm sure he will have been because he handles the track. Like he's not a horse I have a lot to do with. But
I'm only messing.
His last win on the flat was off 90. He's off 94 now. Probably would want a bit of rain, to be fair. Probably would want it to rain. But I see our other horse, Small Fry's come in for a bit of money already with Ashley Lewis up 80. That might be one of them where people just see the colours and sort of latch on a bit. But yeah, no, we've got 3 horses there, and none of them would be without a chance, to be fair. Galactic Charm's a very nice horse as well. Just it's seeing with these horses how having a go over hurdles either slows them down or doesn't slow them down. That's worth bearing in mind with Miller Spirit and Galactic Charm. Small Fry had a little go over hurdles, but it really didn't last very long. Be worth mentioning Boulder's Brass for George Baker as well. I know a lot of the owners in that horse, who's It won't be a fun watch because he walks out the stalls and comes flying late. He ran up was it 4 or 5 timer, I think. I think stepping up in grade won't be the problem people think it will, because they're just going to go faster, which is just going to allow him to stay on even better. That's a horse that's definitely well worth a go at 16-1 each way. He ran very well the last day. It's just somewhere like Epsom, where he can maintain that sort of closing run because it's all downhill, could suit him down to the ground. He's certainly a horse that I wouldn't be discounting at 16-1.
Okay. Ruling Court wins the Derby. The more I think about it, he does. But the each way bet is Lambourn. I'm going to do the exotic, the trifecta on Ruling Court, Lambourn, and Tennessee Stud. It's going to be some crack when those three finish 1, 2, 3 in the Derby. It's going to be some crack.
You'll buy us all one of those cars. Do it for enough money.
Whoa. Aston bloody Martins.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll get you the Lego model of it, all right? I'll buy you the Bond Lego model of the Aston Martin. That you can have.
What do they go for? What do they go for? I don't know much about cars.
They go for the Bond Lego model. That is about 250 quid. The car itself.
What's the cheap? No. The cheapest Aston Martin that you can get.
They're pricey.
The cheapest one for 100. You probably pick up a second-hand one for 70, 80 grand.
Yeah, a second-hand one will do, Emmet. So just do the trifecta for like €1,000 trifecta.
I'll take you for a nice dinner and you'll be glad of it.
You can get a refurbished Aston Martin DB5 with a brand new RS Williams engine. Set you back about 1.4 million.
Oh, is that all?
That's more your speed.
Oh, is that all? Oh, great. So the trifecta at the local Boyle Sports will pay for that then. No problem at all. Could you imagine?
With their capped payout, yeah.
Poor old Lila behind the counter going, wait, what?
I've got 4 Aston Martins to buy. Come on.
Yeah, I can just see poor old Layla now being like, oh my God, what do I do with this? Right, that's it. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us on the Final Furlong Podcast. I really hope you've enjoyed this episode. If you did, likes and shares are much appreciated on social media. Likes on this video particularly are much appreciated. We should be asking you for this an awful lot more than we do. It's the only thing we ask you for. So hit that like button right there. There you go. That's the one. Thank you very much. If you just hit that, it costs you nothing, but it's a huge help to us with the algorithm. From George Gorman, Peter Michael, Andy Newton, following all the guys on X. Great insight as always. And we'll talk to you again next week. Royal Ascot specials on the way. Juvenile specials. Anti-post selections for the Group 1 races. We're doing an American crossover again. And by the way, if you want to know who's going to win the Belmont, the boys who gave you the exacta and the trifecta from the Preakness, which paid 38-1, 79-1, something on those lines, they're back with Martin Dwyer previewing the Oaks, the Coronation Cup, the Derby, and then focus on the Belmont. And there are 2 horses that Charlie Freeman considers to be bankers. There's even an exacta he considers on the undercard to be an absolute banker. Do not miss that. You can watch all the racing on FanDuel TV. I mean Sky Sports Racing. There we go. From George, Peter, and Andy, we'll talk to you again very, very soon on the Final Furlong Podcast. Look after yourself and each other. God bless.
In horse racing, every furlong matters and every episode counts. So stay ahead of the field by hitting subscribe to the Final Furlong Podcast on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and all major podcast platforms. It's free and it gets you one step closer to the winner's enclosure. Subscribe to the Final Furlong Podcast and join us on the gravy train.